You tap your card at the gym door and pick up a piece of metal that exists only to be picked up. It feels like the most normal thing in the world. But 2,000 years ago, a man in Rome moved his body in almost the same way, and he would not have understood a single thing about why you're standing here. Once you see what he was actually doing, the room you train in stops looking like progress. Rome had no gyms, not in the sense you mean the word. There was no building you paid to enter for the single purpose of moving your body, because moving your body was not a separate appointment. It was welded onto washing, onto medicine, onto your social life. You did not go to train, you went to get clean, and the training was step one of getting clean. Start with the building. The baths of Caracalla could hold 1,600 people at once and served up to 8,000 in a day. Walk in and the first room you reach is not water. It is the palaestra, an open courtyard where you wrestled, threw a ball, swung weights, and worked until you were dripping. Sweat first, wash second. The sequence was fixed and the whole city ran on it. And it was loud. Seneca rented an apartment directly over a bathhouse and wrote down what he heard through the floor. Men swinging lead weights, grunting on the way up, hissing air out on the way down. The slap of a hand on a shoulder from the massage tables. He was a philosopher trying to read, and what he described in the year 64 is a leg day. The gym bro under your ceiling is not a modern invention. He has been there for 2,000 years. Now, the part that gets stranger, those lead weights had a name: halteres. Museums hold real ones, and they are not symbolic objects. They range from about 1 kilogram to 4.5, shaped to grip, worn smooth by hands. Athletes held one in each fist and swung them, but not to build the arm. They swung them to jump further. A study published in Nature in 2002 tested the physics and found the weights add at least 17 centimeters to a 3-meter standing jump. They found a way to make the body heavier so it could travel further. That is not a mistake in ancient thinking. That is a real biomechanical trick, worked out without a single equation. And it was not only men. A floor mosaic in a Roman villa in Sicily, late in the 4th century, shows 10 women in 2-piece training kits. One holds hand weights, one throws a discus, one runs, one is being handed a crown. They are not decorative figures at a party. They are athletes, mid-movement, in a private house, in a period when we like to assume women sat still. Here is where the assumption most people carry falls apart. Ask anyone what a gladiator looked like, and they will describe a body with no fat on it, carved out of meat and protein. That picture is wrong, and we can prove it with bones. A cemetery of gladiators was found at Ephesus, and 22 of them were tested. Their diet was mostly plants: barley, beans, lentils. Roman writers already had a nickname for them that we treated as an insult: hordearii, the barley eaters. It was not an insult. It was a description that diet builds a layer of fat over the muscle, and in the arena that layer is armor. A cut through fat bleeds a lot, looks terrible to a crowd, and does not touch anything that keeps you alive. Nerves and blood vessels sit deeper. The men who fought for money were not trying to look like the poster on your gym wall. They were engineering a body that could survive being sliced in public. The bones held one more surprise: a calcium supplement taken after training to help bone heal, a recovery drink in the 2nd century. Then there is the man who wrote the first real fitness manual, and he was a doctor. Galen treated gladiators and later served the emperor Marcus Aurelius, and he argued that the single best exercise in the world was playing with a small ball. His reasoning is uncomfortably modern. Running wears you down, discus loads one side, boxing damages the head. The small ball moves every part of the body, costs nothing, needs no equipment, carries almost no injury risk, and in his words, delights the soul while it works. 2,000 years later, the advice that survives contact with real human beings is still exactly that. The best training is the training you will not quit. The soldiers had no such freedom. The standard was written down: 20 Roman miles in 5 summer hours, carrying 60 Roman pounds, which is around 20 kilograms. Recruits trained against a wooden post fixed in the ground, striking it with a wicker shield and a wooden sword built at double the weight of the real one, so that steel would feel light when it finally came. Every principle sold to you today as sports science was already a standard issue. And now the part that turns back on you: the Roman did all of this without ever calling it exercise, because the rest of his life already moved him. He walked everywhere. He climbed stairs to a 5th-floor apartment with no lift. He carried water. Movement was not something he added. It was the background of being alive. The gym did not appear because we got smarter about the body. The gym appeared because we deleted movement from everything else and then sold it back to us at a monthly rate. Look at what that produced. In 2022, roughly 31% of adults on Earth, about 1.8 billion people, did not reach even the minimum recommended activity, and that number has climbed from 23% in the year 2000. We are the first civilization that has to schedule walking. Your membership card is not a sign of progress. It is a receipt for something we lost, which brings us back to the washing, because that half of the ritual has been quietly deleted too. Rome had no soap in the way you understand soap. You covered your skin in olive oil, let it sit while you sweated, then pulled it off with a curved bronze blade called a strigil, taking the dirt and the dead skin with it. Every athlete owned one. It was as ordinary as a towel. The modern version of that entire step now fits in one bottle in your shower, which is the part of the routine I actually think about and why I keep the based body wash there. Same job the oil did, strip the day off the skin without stripping the skin quieter. And it takes about 90 seconds. The Romans went further with it than you would like. The scrapings that came off the body, oil mixed with sweat and dust, were collected from the bath floors, bottled and sold. Pliny records it being used as a treatment, rubbed on inflammation and aching joints. There was a market for the residue of other people's workouts. Somewhere in Rome, a man made a living selling what came off the athletes. So think about what actually happened over 2,000 years. We kept the weights, we kept the ball games, we kept the progressive loading, the recovery drink, the doctor telling you to move. We even kept the man grunting near your ear. What we threw away was the frame around it. For a Roman, training was tied to getting clean, and getting clean was tied to seeing people, and all of it was tied to the ordinary shape of a day. For you, it is a separate hour in a separate building that you have to fight yourself to attend. Next time you tap that card, notice that you're performing an ancient ritual with the meaning cut out of it. The movement survived. The reason did not. You're not doing something new. You are refilling something your life used to do for you automatically 1 hour at a time and paying for the privilege. I want to hear about the moment you noticed it in yourself. The day something physical that used to be nothing became work. A flight of stairs, a bag carried too far, a run you used to do without thinking. What was it? And what did you do about it? Tell me below, because those small moments are where most people's real story starts. If you want more of these, the quiet ones that leave you thinking about your own body afterwards, subscribing helps me keep making them.